That basically means if we don't put a stop to this, roughly within 30 years, everybody will be a prohibited person. So in my last video, I put together a plan to take down this whole felons can't have guns thing, and I realized there is a massive split in the gun community. On one side, you got, if you're a violent felon or you're a felon, you should not own a gun. Own up to your crimes. You committed the crimes, suffer the consequences. And then on the other side, yes, that's unconstitutional. There's no reason a person integrated back into society should not have a gun. The whole idea is to integrate them back into society. Why would you make them a second-class citizen? You'd want to restore their full citizen rights, which is firearms, voting, everything. Integrate them back in and try to make them a productive member of society. So I was like, whoa. I didn't realize it was a split. I thought everybody understood that all gun laws are unconstitutional, even the ones that say that felons can't have guns. So we're going to break it down, pros and cons of felons being able to have firearms again. What are the pros? What are the cons to the argument? And I read through almost all of your comments. I do all the time. I know I don't reply, but that's because I don't know if you're a federal agent and you're trying to bait me into saying something incriminating, so I don't reply to comments. But I do read them, so feel free to leave them. I will see them. Alright, so the cons are, they've proven themselves to be a dangerous person. If you've caught a felony, you're obviously a dangerous person. You no longer have the right to have a firearm. So what is a dangerous person? A dangerous person is somebody that has proven that they are willing to take somebody else's life, or they are, at least in my head, they've agreed to point a firearm at somebody and discharge it. Whether or not they hit them, that's a dangerous person. So what are your dangerous people? Well, you got all your veterans. Anybody that's ever served in the military is obviously a dangerous person. Police officers, any single one of them, whether they've shot their gun in the line of duty or not, they've agreed that they're willing to point their firearm at somebody and discharge it. That is a dangerous person. Then you got felons, because felons equal dangerous. Then you got anybody that's defended themselves. Any sort of self-defense person, they've proven that they're willing to hurt somebody. So the whole argument is the ones that are kind of on the fence, they argue that non-violent felons should be able to have their firearms rights back. And I believe that comes down to just not understanding how bad the justice system is. Now, I'm not going to try to persuade you one way or the other. I think we can all agree that the justice system is broken. I don't have an answer of how to fix it. I don't. I'm just pointing at the problem, and that's an issue, because typically if you point at a problem, you should offer a solution. My only solution is, at this point, is that why would you not have your gun rights restored if you're released out of prison? If you're that dangerous that you can't be trusted with a firearm, why are you being released out of prison in the first place? So this is how it all goes down. Less than 100 years ago, the very first nationwide gun restriction, it was just a $200 stamp. That's it. That's all they did, was they put a $200 tax on specific firearms, and we let it stand. What is that tax today? What did it ultimately morph into? You got the ATF showing up at people's houses, arresting and killing people for what? Scraps of metal? Pieces of tube? 3D printed pieces of plastic? They're showing up and arresting and killing people because your barrel is too long or too short, because, I don't know. Fill in XYZ. You guys all know what's happening. They're going around collecting 4473s, building a registry, all because some simple law, completely easy to understand, is you have to pay a $200 tax on specific items that they have labeled NFA items. Then a few years later, in 1968, they do a total ban on certain NFA items. That would be your machine guns. Now, yes, you can go get a pre-86 machine gun. You can do that. However, the cost of them at $30,000 for an M16 or whatever they cost today, that makes it completely unobtainable for, 75% of the country? How is that not a ban? Yeah, you could say that raising the cost of this house to, $10 million isn't a ban for people to live in this house, but it really is to anybody that doesn't make an absurd amount of money. Only 24% of America makes more than $100,000 a year. So I consider that a ban on 3/4 of the country. And then you can't have anything past 1986 unless you get a special occupational license. But as we all seen in my case, it doesn't matter if you have one or not because they'll still arrest you. So, just simply by letting a $200 tax, which I'm sure everybody would be fine with today if they were to remove all gun laws and you just had to pay a $200 tax on certain firearms, nobody would care about that. But where did that go within a 100-year period? It's just crazy. And that's why we need to roll this back as far as we possibly can to protect our children's future. So, nonviolent felons. Just in gun charges alone. That's it. Just gun charges. There's so many things like possession of marijuana or something like that that are nonviolent felonies. But we're just looking at gun charges. It's more than 250 people a day. It's like 263, but I'm rounding off to 250 just to keep the math easy. 250 people a day just for a non-violent gun charge. They didn't commit any crimes with the gun. The gun just had a barrel that was too long, too short. Maybe the stock moved in the wrong way. Who knows? There's like 100 different reasons to catch a non-violent gun charge. And almost every gun charge that I know of, because it's a federal offense, is automatically a felony. So 250 people a day just on guns. That is 91,250 people a year. Over a 10-year period, that's just short of 1,912,000. That's insane. That's almost 1 million people in a 10-year period that they've removed and made into the prohibited persons list. Now remember, that's just nothing else. No other crimes, just non-violent gun charges. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the justice system. Remember, on average, there's about 15,000 violent gun crimes every single year. There's 30,000 in total, but when you get rid of suicides and all the other stuff like that, it comes to about 15,000. So out of these numbers I'm about to talk to, in a year, only 15,000 of them actually committed a violent gun crime, who are probably going to spend the rest of their life in prison anyway. So, in the state jails, every year, there's about 10 million people. Every year. Out of those 10 million people, 103,000 of them are facing sentences less than 1 year. I'm almost positive, I'll have to double check. It's either 1 or 2 years, but I think it's 1 year. If you have a sentence, a misdemeanor, that carries a sentence over 1 year, you are now a prohibited person. You can no longer own firearms. Federal people getting locked up. 600,000 people every single year. Remember, out of all this I was just talking about, 15,000. That's it. That's the amount of people arrested for violent gun crimes. And I'm not even sure if they're arrested. That's just how many happen. And one person can commit multiple of them. So it's probably less than 15,000 people a year. So, over a 10-year period, people that are automatically prohibited forever, that's 6 million people. Now, out of the state, because 103,000 are less than 1 year, you're looking at 99 million over a 10-year period of time. And that's saying we start from today at 0. But we haven't started today. We started a few years ago. So this is already happening. Over a 30-year period of time, you are looking at 332 million people that get added to the prohibited persons list. That's more than the population in the country. That basically means if we don't put a stop to this, roughly within 30 years, everybody will be a prohibited person. And you know they're going to keep changing this back. Yeah, it might be 1 year today, but maybe tomorrow they switch it to 6 months. Maybe the year after that they switch it to if you've ever been arrested, you are now a prohibited person. Just about everybody I know ever has been arrested at one point in time. There's a very, very, very small amount of people that haven't been. The point is, the whole felonies not having a firearm, first we make it illegal to have a firearm if you're a felon, now we make everyone a felon. That is in itself a plan for total disarmament of the country. It's a 30-year plan that's already been put into motion. We're already years into a 30-year plan. So, in less than 30 years, if this isn't fixed, none of you will be allowed to have a firearm. Not one of you. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe there'll be a couple of you, but very, very few of you will be allowed to have a firearm. The next reason why it's stupid to have it so a person that's committed a felony can't have a firearm is we all know, this is a fact. We know this. Gun-free zones don't work. If a gun-free zone don't work, why in the hell do you think telling somebody they're a prohibited person would make a difference if they truly, truly wanted to commit a crime, if they truly, truly wanted to hurt somebody? You think telling them that they're a prohibited person is going to make a difference? No, because if that's the case, all you have to do is put a sign in front of your house, this is a gun-free zone, and you would never have to worry about ever being burglarized, robbed, or anything like that. That's how ridiculous that is. To think that you can just say, you're a prohibited person, and they're just going to be like, oh, I didn't know. That really sucks. I'm no longer going to do anything violent because you told me I'm a prohibited person. Thank you for enlightening me. And really, how many innocent people are you willing to let suffer to achieve this perceived safety? Only 15,000 every single year. That's the real actual crimes that get committed. Violent offenses. And we're looking at, on an average, damn near 11 million people when there's only really 15,000 real actual criminals, which may even be less than that. And then the next reason why it's stupid is it's unconstitutional. This is what the Second Amendment looks like right here. Remember, this is a document from the people to the government telling them what they're allowed to do when it comes to firearms. Where exactly in this document were they afforded the power to say a certain person is not allowed to have a firearm? Nowhere. They were afforded zero power. That document was just clarifying, you guys can't touch guns. For you to be our legitimate form of government, you absolutely cannot do anything law-related around firearms. And that's really it. So, do I think that felons should be allowed to have firearms? I feel if you've paid your debt to society, you've gone through the prison system, you've done your probation or whatever might come after your supervised release, that's all complete. There is zero reason whatsoever why you cannot be fully integrated into society with every right that every other single American has. And you can just go through the comment section of this very video and there will be hundreds and hundreds of horror stories where somebody at like 16 or 17-year-old, you know, when we're kids and we do dumb shit, they do something dumb that gives them some barely puts them into the prohibited persons list. Maybe they got a year and 1 day or a minor felony. And now for the rest of their life, they've been sweating because now they got to carry a gun and worry about, oh, if I'm speeding, I get pulled over and they catch me with this gun. Am I going to go to jail? Because let's be real. Everybody carries a gun anyways. But now they're just entered into the system, and 25% of people that get entered into the system return. And it's for reasons like that. When they were like 17 years old, they did something dumb. They paid for it, but now this is still hanging over their head for the rest of their life, just waiting for them to slip. At some point in time, they will slip again, and they will go back in, or at least 25% of them will anyway. It's just a cat and mouse game at that point. And it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way. If you are released out of prison to be a productive member of society, then you need to be accepted into society as a productive member, with all rights restored. There's no reason whatsoever why you shouldn't have your rights restored, because if you're that dangerous that you can't be trusted with your own rights, why the hell did you get released from prison? Seriously, why? Why would you get released if that's the case? Anyway, sorry kind of this video just went off in a million directions, but it's a really complicated issue. Again, I don't have the answer. I do believe, though, that making a prohibited person when they're not in prison is just absurd. I'll make an exception to say while you're in supervised release or on probation, yeah, you could be a prohibited person. And also don't forget, it's just not a single prohibited person. It's a prohibited household. For example, right now, I can have no dangerous weapons in my house. I gotta tell you, it was one of the saddest things taking away my daughter's Christmas present. Because her dad accepted an advertising contract for a bottle opener. So it's not just you. It's not just the non-violent felon. It's your wife, your children. They're basically making an entire gun-free family. And that will spread onto your children's beliefs. It will change the way they think. And it's just all marching to the 30-year plan of disarming America. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you'd like to help support the channel, I got my Patreon right there. I also have affiliate links in the description down below. Just by clicking on those particular links, even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on it and doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway. And a little kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.